Thank you, Mr. Contest Chair, fellow guests, fellow Toastmasters. Before I start, I just need to make sure no one in here has heart disease, high blood pressure. I don't want to frighten anybody before I begin. I'm about to tell you the true tall tale of Johnny Baptiste of the North Country. Born about 100 years ago to his mother and father, Mr. and Mrs. Baptiste, farmers up in northern Michigan. More than anything, they just wanted a sweet little baby boy. What they got was this ugly, ornery cuss of a son. He was so ugly. In the day he was born, he came out and he punched his mom right in the chin. Gave his dad the stink eye. They couldn't believe it. Before he could crawl, he had kicked his dad in the shins over and over again. Before he could walk, he had taken their cat out back and skinned him. Well, they were tired of that. They didn't want to deal with this ornery baby, so they took him and put him out in the woods and left him. But pretty soon, a big snake had heard about this, right? The snake goes crawling through the woods and sees this little ugly cuss of a boy, dinner. So he goes to eat him, and Johnny picks that snake up and snaps him like a whip and throws him into the woods. Well, the Wolverine hears all this fighting and yelling, comes up and sees dinner. Licks his lips and goes down to bite him. Johnny Baptiste punches him so hard, knocks him all the way across Lake Superior. Where any Wolverine belongs. Pretty soon, this big mama brown bear hears all the fighting, and she comes up, and her son, Rowdy Joe, left years ago. So she sees this little baby crying away. She goes up to take a big old bite. Johnny grabs her by the forehead, bites her ear right off. Mama Bear looks at that baby and says, "You are the meanest cuss I ever did see. I'm going to raise you for my own. Replace Rowdy Joe." So she raises him up, and she says, "I'll tell you what, Johnny Baptiste, you're going to be half bear, half man. You're going to be all mean." So she takes him, she teaches him how to hunt, how to fish, how to fight. Pretty soon, though, old Mama Bear, she's getting too old. She can't teach him anything more. He's too mean for even her. So she says to him, "I'll tell you what, Johnny, the only people meaner than me are those men, those lumberjacks up in the North Country. You go find them." So he does. Goes up into the big lumber yard, all the men cutting away, and Johnny's afeared. He's never seen men like this. And they fight, and they brawl, and they drink, and they eat. Never seen it. So they make fun of Johnny. Johnny gets a big smile on his face and takes an axe out of one of their hands, goes up, finds a tree the size of a house. Takes one big whack, two big whacks, and that tree comes falling down. Well, Johnny catches it, lifts it up, and throws it into the railroad car, about a mile away. Well, they can't believe it. They have met the meanest cuss they've ever laid eyes on. So what they do is they teach him how to do everything a man does well. Fight, cuss, drink. And he does it good. In fact, he does it so good, he cuts down all those trees in the northern woods. He does it so good, he beats up every man, every lumberjack he's ever seen so much that they leave too. Pretty soon there's nothing left for Johnny except a big saloon down at the end of the road. So Johnny goes down to that saloon. He drinks all he can drink until he's half blind. He eats all he can eat until his stomach gets about as big as a hill and then as big as a mountain. He can't even move. And then somebody comes knocking at the door. Who is it? Well, it's Rowdy Joe, Mama Bear's long-lost son. And he comes in there and he says, "I've heard about you, Johnny Baptiste. You think you're so mean? You think you're so big and bad? Take me on." Johnny gets up. He can't punch. Big old belly. So Rowdy Joe goes and punches and can't get his arm out. He's stuck in the belly. Pulls it out. So he takes an axe and throws it at Johnny. But it sticks, and the things that don't stick come bouncing back and hit Rowdy Joe in the head. Pretty soon Rowdy Joe does the only thing a bear can do. He goes and finds the last tree left in the northern woods. He breaks it off, and he bangs it over Johnny's head and knocks him out. What he didn't realize, though, a splinter from that tree goes flying up, comes right down and hits Rowdy Joe right in his big black heart. Kills him dead. Johnny Baptiste wakes up. He's had enough of man. He's had enough of being mean. He's going to go back and find his brown bear mama. So he goes crawling through the woods, and he's so tired. His head's hurting. His eyes are half blind, and he falls asleep, but he crosses his arm right on the railroad track. And that train comes in. Louder, louder, louder. And all of a sudden it takes his arm clean off. Johnny wakes up, no arm. Cries, howls. I'll tell you what, my friends, to this day, if you're up in the North Woods, you can still hear the echoes of that cry. Johnny Batiste is out there somewhere. You might hear him. Who's got my arm? Who's got my arm?